Hey, what's happening, guys? It's Rules for Rebels here, and today we're going to be talking about college and is it worth earning a college degree? So, this is a really common question that I get from a lot of you guys: is do you think college is worth the money and worth the time? Or a lot of people ask, do entrepreneurs need to go to college? And this is a question I get a lot, and I notice from what some of the other entrepreneurs channels who I watch, I notice it's a question that's really commonly asked. So, I wanted to talk about, I wanted to start this video before giving my opinion on college by talking about a video Alex Becker did a while ago as part of his 30 for 30 series, and it was really entertaining. I'll kind of give a quick recap. I'll also link to the description box below to his video. Highly recommend you guys check it out. It's really entertaining, and he has a certain way of delivering his message, which is pretty funny. But I'll give you guys a quick recap. So Alex Becker kind of goes on to say, okay, imagine this. I create like a digital course, an online course teaching people how to do things online, which he does. But let's say I create a course, and this course is going to cost $50,000 to $100,000. Now, after you buy this course, there are absolutely no refunds, regardless of whether or not you find the content useful, regardless of whether or not you learn anything. There are absolutely no refunds. And another caveat: you cannot default on this debt. Now, this course that I, or in this case Alex Becker, is selling, you took this course specifically to get a job. However, if you pay the money and you don't pass my final test, you can't use this course that you took and paid for to get a job. You can, however, pay to take the course again, and if you pass the test next time around after paying a second time, then you can use this information or use this course. Now, this course, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, this course is taught by Alex Becker, right? He's like a multi-millionaire. He really does this stuff. This is how he makes his living. Like, you're going to be learning from the best guy out there who actually does this, right? But no, Alex Becker isn't going to teach a course. Alex Becker has brought in other people to teach the course for him. And these people have never actually started or run a business themselves. But what they have done is studied how to run a business. Now, think about how stupid it is. It's like, who do you want your baseball coach to be? Like Derek Jeter, or do you want some guy that Derek Jeter hires who's read a lot of books about baseball? Like, you know what I mean? So, and in college, sure, I did have a few good professors in college who actually had experience in the business world, but a lot of them are just people who studied business, Furthermore, besides the course not being taught by a real business person, all the information that is taught in this course is available in textbooks, which you can buy for a couple $100s, or you can easily find this information on Google for free. And furthermore, this information you're paying for, all of it's not even focused on starting a business or being an entrepreneur. You're going to have to take classes on like pottery and leisure studies and Victorian English and novels and like all this other nonsense that doesn't even apply to business or entrepreneurship. But you still have to take these courses and master these courses and pass these courses. And then with all the money that I or Alex Becker earns from this course, we're going to build monuments and stadiums and stuff and put our name on them. And then we're going to go out and actively make it more difficult for people who haven't taken our course to go out and get jobs, right? This is getting better and better. And all the students are so unsuccessful after taking this course that they can't go out and earn money. So it's going to cause, they're going to have this massive amount of debt and they don't have a good paying job. And this problem is going to be so big that it like literally shakes our economy and causes economic problems in the USA. And, if Alex Becker or if I did this, what would you think of us? We'd be a horrible person. We'd be horrible people, right? Furthermore, this is a literal scam. We'd probably be sued. And really, this is just like an ultimate pyramid scheme. So colleges can do this, and colleges absolutely do this. Everything I've described here are things that colleges do. I mean, this is what college is, right? So Alex Becker kind of goes on to say that there's all types of courses and online education out there at like 1/1000th of the price of college. That's not going to make you take all these ancillary courses you don't need, but it's going to focus on just what you do need to learn, whether it be SEO or coding or programming or whatever else, web design, graphic design. And these things can literally, like, within a pretty short period of time, get you making money online or give you a skill that you can go out and get a job with somebody else. So that's Alex Becker's kind of analogy of college. Again, I'll link to the description box below. He delivers this message a lot better than I do. But if you're wondering what is my opinion on college, did I go to college, etc. So I've been meaning to make a video where I kind of give you guys a little bit of my background. I went to college. It took me a long time to finish. I went to college. I failed out my first semester. I still stayed down and just kind of partied and had kind of a BS job working as a line cook and just kind of partied down there. I went back to school and did a community college for a while in the college town where I went to college. Went back to the four-year state school that I was going to, did another year there, kind of got sick of it, left, came home, worked for a year, went back to community college, took some more courses, and then pretty much worked and went to college at the same time throughout the rest of my college experience. So college took me a little bit longer than the average person. If any of you guys are wondering, I went for a communications degree, specifically organizational communication. So it's good in that it leaves you open to a whole lot of different fields, and I can kind of sell myself into almost any field. It's bad in the sense that it's not really specifically geared towards anything. So I mean, if you go to college for accounting, you pretty much actually learn what you're going to be doing on the job, and you can literally go out of college and get a job very easily, right? When you go to school for organizational communications, like I could go into marketing, I could go into sales, I could go into HR. There's a lot of areas I could go into, but nothing I learned at college has really specifically prepared me to go into any job. So I'm still going to have to be trained from scratch, and that's really what college is. I mean, a lot of jobs you can't even get an interview without having that piece of paper we call a college degree. And a lot of times it really doesn't matter if your degree is in like English or leisure studies or whether it's in like marketing. A lot of times just simply having that piece of paper is going to get you in the door at a lot of places, and that's kind of the value of it. So my thoughts on college, I wrote a blog post on this. I'll actually link to it in the description box below. I'm kind of an unconventional dude. I mean, you guys can probably tell that. I work for myself. I got weird hair. I wear weird clothes, and I'm always wearing like weird neon shit and stuff. Like I'm not really your average dude. So you guys might be thinking like, oh, this guy's kind of unconventional, he's probably going to poo-poo college. But I do think college has value. I don't think it's really responsible of myself as somebody who shares a message online to tell people, especially young people, like don't go to college. Like entrepreneurship, I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of a long shot, right? Like some people are going to be able to squeak out a little extra money in addition to the side job, and that's great. You know, that's when I got into entrepreneurship. As much as I'd love to say like, oh, I really believed in myself and I knew I was going to work for myself someday, like really, I was scraping by at my 9-to-5 job. It wasn't enough, and I knew I had to do something on the side. And whether that brought in an extra $300 a month or an extra $1,000 a month, I was just kind of trying to supplement my income. And fortunately, it grew into something that wound up making me like 4 times what I was making at my old job. But that's not going to happen for everybody. So I think a college degree is worthwhile for a couple of reasons. I think saying I want to be an entrepreneur in some ways is like saying I want to be a professional basketball player. Like, go for it. That's great if you make it, but if you don't make it, you should have something to fall back on. And in my case, I had a degree so I could go get a job, or in my case, I actually did work in the working for other people world for a little while. Another reason I think college degrees aren't worthless, I'm not going to say it's a necessity, but why they're not worthless is because, some people's businesses are going to go under. Some people may not like working for themselves, and it's nice having something to fall back on. So let's see, what do I say? I'm kind of reading this blog post I did. Well, a lot of the skills that you're going to learn in college, and a lot of like actual on-the-job concrete skills that you need can be learned outside of college. I do feel like college has a lot of stuff to offer. Like, they say college makes you well-rounded because you're forced to study all these different topics, and I do agree with that. Another thing about college, you're not in the real world, in careers and entrepreneurship, you're not expected to have all the answers, but you should know how to go out there and get all the answers. And whether you still thought taking Victorian literature back in your sophomore year of college was stupid or not, what it did teach you is when you have a paper to do on that topic, you learn how to do research. You learn where to go out and find those answers, and that's something that you may not learn without college. So when you find yourself in a job and you don't know an answer to something, you kind of know the research skills that you need to go out and get the answer. So my gripes about college, I definitely have plenty of gripes about college. I do feel college isn't what it used to be. So I know my parents and teachers and everybody kind of pounded in my head like, hey dude, just go get a college degree and you're gonna have a nice cushy life and a stable job, and you're gonna be happy, right? And my generation, we came out into the real world, And we realized that that college degree, you know, a lot of people with college degrees are working at Starbucks or Crate and Barrel or retail jobs. I know I've worked retail jobs even after having a college degree, and there's nothing wrong with a retail job, but I didn't go spend 4 years and get myself into all this school debt to go work a retail job that I could have gotten without the degree, right? Another thing is, I heard this, I forget who said it, but I heard this a while back, and I definitely agree with it, is there's kind of an inflation going on with education right now. So the same way that inflation happens with money, where, you know, basically your money becomes worth less and it takes more money to buy the same things that you used to buy for less. I think inflation is going on with education as well. So back during our parents' generation, when you got a college degree, you know, that was good enough to go out and land a great job and you had a nice life and everything else. Well, now a bachelor's degree, because everybody's going out and getting bachelor's degrees, it's almost like the norm these days. A bachelor's degree isn't what it used to be. So now a doctorate, or at the very least a master's degree, is kind of the equivalent to what a bachelor's degree used to be. So now not only do you have to spend 4 years and all this money getting a bachelor's degree, now you got to go spend another 2 years and drop another crap load of money into going and getting a master's degree just to be competitive. So I do think there's kind of an educational inflation going on right now. I do think our generation, I don't want to say was lied to, but was kind of given this false narrative of like, you have to get a college degree to be successful. And quite honestly, there's a lot of people without college degrees who are better off than people with college degrees. You know, they might be earning the same, but the guy without a degree didn't waste 4 years and isn't in $40,000 worth of student loan debt. Let's see. Well, I do think college costs and college debt is out of control. I do think some of this blame can be placed on students. I mean, people are going out and getting like leisure studies degrees and degrees in English, which is nothing wrong with getting a degree in English, but realize that your career path is going into teaching. Like, you're either going to go into teaching or your degree really has no value in the real world. So I do think we can kind of blame students for going into major areas where there's really no good job outlook for them. Another thing I see a lot of people doing is, and I know a couple people personally who've done this, is a school in Chicago called Columbia. And not like the one in New York that's like an Ivy League school. Columbia in Chicago is like an art school. So it's for people into music production, making video games, art, design, you know, like all that type of stuff. And nothing wrong with that at all, but it's an incredibly expensive school. So I know a lot of people who went to this school, over $100,000 in student loan debt completing 4 years there, and they went to be like a music producer. Now, if you have a dream of being a music producer, that's awesome, more power to you. However, realize that, like, I think people go into this thinking like, I'm going to be the next Kanye West, and the reality of it is very few people out there are going to be the next Kanye West. The majority of people who go into this music production thing are going to wind up working in like AV at a church or a school or whatever else. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you have $100,000 in debt that you have to pay back because you chose to go to Columbia, and now you have a job making $28,000 a year working in the AV department at a school or a church, you're probably not going to be too happy with yourself after that. So my personal suggestion, if you do have a dream to do something like that, realize it's kind of a long, I mean, some people are going to get into music production and make a killing and do very well for themselves, and props to them for that, you know, I mean, that's awesome. But what I would suggest doing is people go for a more practical degree, and with all the, you know, my school, I think my first, I know college costs have gone up, but my first semester of college, I believe my schooling with room and board was $1,700, and that's a semester, so there's 2 semesters, that's $3,400. So $3,400 a year times 4 years, that's 3, 6, 9, so that's 12, 13, about $14,500. So my entire education was only going to cost me about $14,500 as compared to like $100,000 if I went to a school like Columbia. So for those of you guys out there who do want to do music production or something else, why not go to a state school, or even better, go to a junior college for 2 years, save some money, then go off to a state school, and you'll be even cheaper than that $14,500 that I just mentioned. And then with all that extra money you're saving, go buy yourself like GarageBand software and start experimenting with stuff in your house. Meet some other people out there who are into music production and collaborate with them and see if they can teach you some stuff and you can teach them some stuff. or there's probably a lot of certificate courses out there that aren't 4-year programs where you can go take a course for a couple $100 or maybe $1,200 and learn how to do music production. Like, to me, that makes a lot more sense. Rather than like sinking your entire life and future and $100,000 into going to Columbia for this, why not get a more, I don't want to say normal because that's not the right word, a more, go get a degree that's going to have more career opportunities for you, and then you can do the music production thing on the side, and if that doesn't work out, you still have a career to fall back on. But the whole point of this whole thing is that I think a lot of the students in big debt and things like that, I see a lot of my younger sister's friends and even people I know, they wanted to go to an out-of-state school. Like here in the Chicagoland area, a lot of kids want to go to Iowa or want to go to Arizona State, and that's great. I'm sure it's a great time out there and everything, but realize that when you go out of state, you're paying 2 to 3 times the tuition of in-state tuition. So these kids who could have been going to school for $3,000 a year are now paying 10, 15, 20 grand a year for school, all because they wanted to follow their girlfriend out to Arizona State or follow their best friend out to Arizona State, or because they wanted to, go party in the sun for a couple years or whatever. Like, I'm going to get to that stuff later, but I mean, do the community college thing for 2 years and then go on to college, or at the very least do a state school. What I like about college, let me see here, I absolutely love college was one of the best experiences of my life. I mean, I look back on it very fondly. I had a great time. I learned a lot of stuff. I think college gives young people a chance to kind of mature before entering the real world. I feel like college gives you a chance to learn who you are and figure yourself out a little bit in kind of a cushy environment before you go off into the real world. Like I said, a lot of people say a lot of the courses you take in college are useless. I do feel like it makes you become a more well-rounded person. I kind of already told you guys about how college, when you're taking these English classes, do you need to know about Victorian English? No, but by writing papers and doing this research, you're learning how to find the answers to things that you don't know. I also feel like college offers a ton of stuff outside the classroom, and this is one of the big points I have. So I was a communications major. One of the colleges I went to actually both colleges I went to had a radio show. Now, I actually used to kind of want to get into broadcasting. So it's kind of funny that I now have a YouTube channel, because YouTube basically provides me a chance to get my opinion out there and have an audience and talk to people and things like that. But I remember back when I was much younger, my mom I used to talk crazy and make up weird stories and ramble about stuff, and my mom would go, "Oh, is that crazy talk?" And she was always, "Oh, you should go into broadcasting." And I used to want to be kind of like a Howard Stern or something like that, like a man cow, have like a radio show. And I really didn't take advantage of any of the opportunities, or many of the opportunities that were presented to me in college. But like I said, both colleges I went to had a radio show. Had I wanted to, I could have had my own show on the college radio station and either been like a DJ or had some kind of talk radio show, or have live guests come in. And I think that would have been an awesome opportunity. It's an awesome way to test out a potential new career. But there's all these opportunities at college outside of the classroom. So whether it be special guest speakers that the college brings in, whether it be having access to equipment and things like that you would never have access to in the real world. Just for example, a buddy of mine's an IT guy at a local college around here in Chicago, and they have 3D printers in there that the students can use. So, if somebody's an inventor or wants to get into like CAD drawing or CAD drawing or whatever that's called, like, you have the opportunity to use these printers that are worth like tens of thousands of dollars. Like, if you weren't going to college, you would never ever be able to touch these machines or work with these machines. And simply because you're enrolled at such and such school, you have access to the lab with the 3D printers. Like, that is the type of stuff that you should be taking advantage of. Special speakers that come in. I know at my school they had a lot of entrepreneurs and business people, and special speakers come in. I remember back when I was at my first college, Eastern Illinois, I had a group of buddies, and 2 of them wanted to go off to like Hollywood after college and become directors or whatever. And this is like way back before YouTube, way before digital cameras. I mean, this is back when you had camcorders that you put the tapes in and things like that. Probably dating myself here a little bit, but I remember the Finelli brothers. But there was a whole group of us. We used to hang out at their house, and we'd sit around drinking and ripping bongs and whatever else. And they really liked like writing scripts and putting on little plays and stuff like that. And it may sound like cheesy or corny, but we used to have a lot of fun doing it. And I really wish that like I was born a couple years later and like YouTube and all this stuff would have been around, because probably all of us would have been YouTubers. We would have had these really cool popular YouTube channels, and we would have been making movies and things like that. I mean, look at all the stuff you have at your disposal today. Like Mac computers have their own movie making systems. You got Windows Movie Maker. I mean, there's all types of softwares and stuff that turn these things that used to be really, really complicated, whether it be making websites or creating music, making beats, putting movies together. Like, all this stuff used to be so advanced and require, equipment and tools and software worth like hundreds, tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars, whatever. And now this stuff is like stuff that comes free on your computer. So I really wish we had these things at our disposal. But like I said, when we used to sit around goofing around, like making our own little movies or doing like our own little like SNL style skits and things like that. And I remember one of my buddies used to check out, it was like a $2,500 camera that he would check out from his AV class just to bring home so we could goof around and make movies and things like that. And that's the type of like outside of the classroom opportunities and tools and things like that you have available to you at college. When I was going to college, I was a little bit immature. I kind of viewed it as one big party and stuff like that, and I really wish I would have taken advantage of everything at my disposal, from study abroad programs, internships, networking events, and really kind of working side by side with my teachers. I mean, one of my classmates at college, the teacher actually they created a board game, and the teacher actually got the school to fund the making of the board game, and they wound up making a crap load of money off of it. Let's see. So I mean, that's my point, is take advantage of all the things at college. And then lastly, my last little category or section of this blog post was the right way to go to college. Like I said, college isn't entirely bad. I actually think it's a really good thing. College can be affordable if you first attend a community college for 2 years and then move on to a state school, or at the very least go to an in-state school for your whole 4 years. But if you're going to go to some special private school or an out-of-state school or whatever, be prepared to graduate college like $60,000 to $100,000 in debt. Like, is that really where you want to start out your career and start out your life? College isn't a total waste if you actually pursue a degree that will send you into a career. So, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, you have to go to college, and college is going to specifically get you ready for your career. Now, me personally, I'm not a numbers guy. I would have no interest in going to accounting. So that's not saying college is a complete waste, but rather than taking leisure studies or home ec or whatever kind of nonsense liberal arts degree type stuff, try to take a course that's somewhat focused towards business, whether it be marketing, even communications or something like that. One other comment, what was I going to say? I had one other thought about the whole college thing. Yeah, no, I'll keep carrying on. Maybe I'll remember in a second. Like I said, in order to get the most value out of college, I would suggest taking advantage of everything the college offers. Like I said, I didn't really take advantage of all that. Don't attend out of state. Don't go to a private school. Don't go to some specialized school for some, far-fetched dream type career. I guess so. I mean, that's pretty much my spiel on college. I'm curious what you guys think. Did you go to college? Are you glad that you went to college, or are you regretting going to college? Do you wish that you would have gone to college for a different subject area? Oh, I just remembered what I was going to say. I had one other thought on college. If you go to college, I know I just got done saying don't go to college for things you're interested in that don't have a career future, but what I mean by, me personally, I kind of wish I would have gone into teaching. So I have 3 cousins who are teachers, and you hear about teachers don't make very much money. I have 2 cousins who are gym teachers who make over $100,000 a year. Now, granted, they've been teaching for, maybe 10 years, and they do coach sports and things on the side, so that gives them extra money. But people cry about how teachers don't make enough money. 2 of my cousins are gym teachers. They make $100,000 a year. They have summers off, and they have a lot of days off during the middle of the year for different holidays. They have longer Christmas breaks, etc. So I sort of wish I would have gone into teaching. When I was actually in college, I was teaching after school programs at kind of a troubled or underprivileged school, and I actually really, kids were bad as hell, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed teaching, and I think that's a career that I would have enjoyed going into, especially with my personality type. I'm a INFP, which kind of likes helping people and having a purpose and wanting the greater good and things like that. So in a lot of ways, I think teaching would have been a great career path for me. And a lot of people said, oh, you're not going to make any money going to teaching, blah, blah, blah. My dad was in business, so that kind of steered me towards business. And I thought, I'm going to go into business because I want to make money. But here's the reality of it, guys. Not to say you can't make money in business, but most college grads coming out of school, going to get your typical office job, are going to come out of school making $30,000 a year, 35 grand a year, maybe $40,000 a year. And as you grow in your career and things like that, you can make more. But like, really, the only way to make big money in business is to either go work for a startup that takes off, get really established through years and years of work in your career, or go into sales. So my dad was in sales, and obviously in sales you have like uncapped commissions. The sky's the limit in terms of what you can earn. But I mean, if you're going into like HR or marketing or being an account manager, like, you're going to come out of college making 30, 35 grand a year. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, teachers come out of college, like, if you go teach for the Chicago Public Schools, you're going to come out of college making, I want to say $46,000 a year, and it continues to go up from there. So, teaching is nothing too shabby. Plus, you got the summers off if you wanted to have another little business on the side, or just enjoy yourself and buy a boat and spend it cruising on the waters. My cousin and her wife actually recently bought a lake house. And this entire summer, they got a lake house, they got a boat, they got 2 wave runners. They make good money, and from June through August, they spent the entire summer up at their lake house. I'd go up there on the weekends when I'm free and go boating with them. I was actually just out there yesterday riding wave runners and having a blast. But I mean, that's their life. Like, that's pretty cool. I have another cousin who's a teacher, making good money and things like that. So I went into business thinking, I want to make money. I'm gonna put what I'd really like to do on the side because I want money. And I came out of school and got a job making like $27,000 a year. So follow what you're passionate about and what you want to do, and don't be 100% focused on making money, because the money will come. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's kind of my spin on college. That's my take on college. Again, curious to hear your guys' experiences, what you guys think. If you're glad you went to college, if you're not glad you went to college, if you regret what you went for. One other thing I just wanted to touch on with this whole teaching thing. So recently I'd considered going, and not recently, but a couple years ago before my business really started taking off, I'd considered going back to school to be a teacher. And here's the problem. If you want to go back to school to be a teacher, you need to go and enroll in school, so you have to pay the school money to take the classes and basically have a teacher supervise your student teaching. And then you have to student teach, and while you're student teaching, you have to sign a contract saying you won't work another outside job. So not only do you have to pay your school, which you're not even going to, just to have a teacher supervise your student teaching, so you're paying out money, and you're supposed to be a full-time student teacher. They really don't want you working another job. So you have money going out and you have no money coming in. Like, if you go to be a teacher while you're in college and you have student loans, your parents are helping you out or whatever, it's not that hard to go be a teacher. After the fact, when you're on your own and you have rent to pay and bills to pay and everything else, it's really hard to go back and become a teacher later. So something I looked into, there's a few states like Florida and some others where there's a shortage of teachers, and they have programs where, like, if you have a college degree in anything, sorry, my camera ran out of memory, so that video cut off. But yeah, I was just saying, there are a couple states out there where they have a shortage in teachers, so as long as you have a bachelor's degree in something, they'll let you come down and start teaching right now under the supervision of another teacher. And sometimes they'll even pay for your rent for a few months or for a down payment on a house or whatever, because they do need teachers so bad. But anyhow, that's just kind of rambling about how I kind of wish I would have gone into teaching for a while. But I mean, I'm very happy doing my entrepreneurship thing now. Maybe down the road, maybe, if I make some money, sock away some money, maybe teaching might be something I want to go back into, because I do wish when I was in school, people had introduced me to a lot of the ideas that I'm introducing you guys to, making money online, doing your own things, stuff like that. I wish I would have learned about that stuff a lot sooner. But anyhow, guys, that's my rant on college. That's what I think about it. I'm not like a lot of these other guys that think college is totally worthless. I do feel it. College has value. I do feel I got something out of college. Have I used my college degree, or have I needed to use my degree to get a job? On one occasion, but besides that, all the other time I've spent working for somebody else was in jobs that didn't even require a degree. But nonetheless, I do feel like college benefited me. I had a blast, or I had a time in my life. And I think college is good. I just think you have to go about it the smart way. Like I said, don't go to some expensive private school. Don't go for a worthless degree. If at all possible, do community college for 2 years and then go on to a state school. Or if you do want to do a 4-year school the whole time, go to a state school. Don't go to an out-of-the-state school, and don't go to a private school. But yeah, I do think college has value. Any of you younger people out there watching this video, don't write off college. I'm a big proponent of keeping your options open. Even if you plan on being an entrepreneur and going into entrepreneurship, it doesn't hurt to have a college degree to fall back on. So that's my thoughts, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, whether you're on a phone or a computer, smash that subscribe button below here. I'm working really hard to try to get to 100,000 subscribers, so help me out and subscribe, guys. And would love to start a discussion here. So drop a comment below, and let's hear what you guys have to say. Talk to you guys later.